Kia ora, komusta Kapampángan? Thank you so much for joining us today. We are connecting with Pampanga in the Philippines and Auckland in New Zealand. And I would like to introduce the three beautiful people joining me in this Zoom chat. Introducing Kuya Kevin, Kuya Bruno, and Ate Alyssa. And I'm Márianne. And today we're going to be talking about MEKENI.
My name is Kevin Montalbo. I am one of the co-founders and creative directors for WeTheLokal, living here in Pampanga.
Kia ora Tefano. I'm Alyssa, and I directed MEKENI. I'm not Kapampángan, but I'm from Davao, and Bisaya is my main language.
Hi, ako Bruno. So I live in the same area as Kevin. I'm also a co-founder of WeTheLokal, and through this we've met Márianne in person. Very, very grateful for that. Kitang libre ng food and dessert and stuff, and also that's it.
It's amazing what food can do, diba?
Yeah, connects us.
I basically bribed WeTheLokal to meet with me.
Yeah.
We were transparent about it, but we were transparent about like we need food. If you want to meet us, you treat us.
And I was like, I have the dollars. I will pay for whatever you want. Let's go.
And the chocolate. I mean, the chocolates just.
The pasalubong is
Just
important.
Did it for us. Yes.
Disclaimer, if the accent changes, deal with it, okay? It will happen. Also, we just want to welcome all of the kids. There we go. The kids who will be joining this chat. We are all living in the reality of COVID-19, and we are just gonna roll with the punches of COVID. First of all, I want to ask Kuya Kev and Kuya Bruno, what can you tell us and share a little bit of like your work with WeTheLokal in terms of your advocacy towards representing and preserving the Kapampangan language there in the Philippines?
To be honest, we never started WeTheLokal with that kind of mentality. We didn't think that it would become this kind of advocacy. We just wanted a platform for us to create content. That was it.
To become famous.
Yes, and to be famous and rake in those YouTube dollars. But we found that we had this unique platform. We found that we were in the unique position to create an advocacy and push forth the Kapampangan language and the Kapampangan culture into the forefront.
It was actually accidental. I would consider it accidental to be that we had this advocacy. But initially, we already had the background. Like we are involved in a lot of Kapampangan activities. Especially me, my parents, they are really involved. And then when we started the vlog, Kevin and I were talking, should we speak English? Should we speak Tagalog to serve a bigger audience or whatever? I mean, considering if we get famous, we want to like make it as quick as possible like that. But then we realized it would not be natural if we would speak a different language other than our mother tongue. So I told Kevin, we should speak Kapampangan all the way because the humor, the drama, and everything is going to be real if we speak our own language. So we went with that. And then everything came along. It was new to everyone's ears that people are speaking Kapampangan with vlogs like the majority of the vlog is in Kapampangan, and I think that was the factor that made WeTheLokal. It was purely unintentional. So
honestly, I think something that really strikes me about that is the pure authenticity that you guys have brought onto your platform, which actually serve this niche group of community that either speaks Kapampangan or wants to speak Kapampangan. And I think as someone who wrote MEKENI, I was really inspired. I was really inspired by your approach and your unapologeticness about being Kapampangan. And I was thinking, if I had seen this sort of material before, or if I had seen it more on the screens that have been put on in front of me, I think it wouldn't have taken a lot longer for someone like me who lives and grew up overseas to really acknowledge and connect with, our mother tongue. And I just really want to segue to Alyssa. Alyssa, as someone who is not a Kapampangan speaker, who has, you speak Bisaya, how did you find How did you connect with MEKENI?
I think definitely that it wasn't in Tagalog. I think it was a way for us to really break the stereotypes around that overseas, specifically, that Filipinos only speak Tagalog, and it really kind of diminishes the fact of how culturally rich and diverse our country is, and that's so exemplified in the amount of languages that so many of us speak. Um, and I really stand behind that kapapa of mm, breaking the monolith, that like the stereotype that Filipinos are a monolith, or just like migrant communities are a monolith. And I think that's a really universal theme that comes through with the project. Um, and I think a lot of migrant communities can relate to that, and how even just seeing how unapologetically Kapampángan, the film, is such a big step in that direction of kind of solidifying our identity here in New Zealand, that it's not just, we're not all from Manila. We don't all speak Tagalog, and we have different regionally different cultural traditions, and all those things. And I think also like the themes of the story that you've written in terms of that father-daughter relationship, and that migrant struggle of having to adapt here, and when parents are such a team when they come here, and how that relationship is affected all around throughout the whole family. And when you see the film, you'll get what I'm talking about. But like how you kind of have to keep moving and trucking along regardless of who is supporting who. And like, yeah, I think that really touched me. And I think it's like a situation that I always think about as well, in terms of my parents and how they're gonna get older, and how they'll keep going on without their kids being at home, and us growing up and stuff. So yeah, I think like there's just so many things about the film that I think will really resonate with a lot of people. And I'm just very honored that you trusted me with it, even though I can't speak Kapampángan. Although I feel like I've memorized the script off by heart right now after reading it so many times.
Yeah, just going back to what Alyssa said, I really wanted to comment on that. We are based on about the breaking the monolith and everything. It's exactly what we are trying to do. It's the movement that we're trying to push. I think it's really nice to hear people. Uh, I mean, talking about the same thing across the world. I mean, it helps a lot. I mean, knowing that there's a lot of other people doing the same thing just gives us more energy and inspire us to keep doing what we're doing, because we're fighting a big this what has been a norm, that there's only one language in the Philippines and all. So thank you, Alyssa, for that. I mean, thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and like speaking of the script, Kuya Kevin, from the very very beginning, even when I would just started writing the script, I already seeded the idea with you that I am gonna make something, and I am gonna spread the Kapampangan love, or aroha as we say it here in Te Reo Māori, here in New Zealand. How has it been for you specifically, Kuya Kevin, being a part of like the script process, and then now you get to watch the trailer? Like, what's that experience been for you?
Yeah, when you shared with me the trailer, I was really excited. I was quite curious how it was going to translate on screen, because I remember us doing like doing a table read, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the industry term for what we did, and then just translating that whatever we did here in the same Zoom meeting is it's kind of surreal, seeing it being acted out, and when we were trying to picture how it's going to look like, who was going to be in the screen, as well as the delivery. So we were very particular with how it was going to how it was going to be delivered, the type of language that was going to be involved, the choice of words, the diction. It felt really surreal for me to see, even in the trailer, Pamune, how that was going to be executed, and I'm very very excited to see in the big screen when it finally goes out. Kasi honestly, this is probably the first film for me. We've done a lot, Bruno and I, kaya WeTheLokal, turning scripts into skits, and so. But this is one of the high profile projects that I've worked on. So
we 100% like acknowledge that this kind of project wouldn't have happened without all of the people that came before us that sort of, you know, paved the way, or gave us the permission to feel like we can make stuff in this way. Well, going back to what Kuya Kevin said in terms of like being really particular with what words we were going to use, where do you punch the line, right? I mean, a lot of that I think was also aided by the fact we got an actual Kapampangan tatang to say those words. There's also something to be said about proper authentic casting. You know, like if you're gonna make a Kapampangan film with Kapampangan people, you might as well start with the Kapampangan actors. And Kuya Alan Murillo, who played Tatang, is not a professional actor. That was his very first film, and I'm very excited for people to see his work. And I felt very honored. But I'm really curious, Kuya Bruno, what was your first impression from the trailer? I'm not sure if you read the script beforehand, but I'm really curious as to what you received from seeing our
Well,
30-second trailer.
because of my background, I mean, I do productions and everything. So the first thing I always look into a film is the cinematography, the production quality, and everything. And I was really surprised, not because you're listening or watching it, but I've said, ah, so I was just reading about this a few days ago and everything, and then I thought it was just like a small school project thing that you were working on. And then when I saw the trailer, I mean, okay, they're serious about this film, the production and everything, and even the place. Because the first few seconds of the trailer, they weren't showing Márianne yet, so I was thinking, was this shot in the Philippines? Was this shot at home? I mean, it looks there are parts that are very that tells you that it's in abroad, but there's a lot of part that's telling this is a Kapampangan home. This is definitely a
pays
Kapampangan
homage
home.
to the local, yeah, pays
Yeah,
homage
I
to
mean,
the local scene.
I felt that. But when I saw Marin, okay, this is not in the Philippines.
Oh, really?
Oh,
But
that's
it was a really, I'm really curious about the whole film because of that trailer. Have you any idea how long it's gonna run?
It's like 9 minutes.
Okay.
It's always good to get it shorter than 10 minutes, but most end up being like 15, 12. And so I was like, my goal, I'm gonna get this under 10 minutes.
we filmed for 4 days, 4 whole days. People had this idea that it was just like a school project or like a small thing. And then Kuya Alan, who played Tatang, who obviously the first time being on set, he was like so surprised. There was like a crew of like 25 to 30 people, like, you know, because we shot the whole MEKENI story in my house. So, and my house isn't that big, and to have 30 people in my house, it was quite packed. But to see how, like, you know, how it translated on camera, I think Alyssa did an incredible job really leading the story to where it is now. And like what you were saying, Kuya Bruno, yeah, I think even seeing it in a 9.5 minute format, the puso, the heart of the story is very much intact. What's the word? Like concentrated. The story became concentrated, and yeah, I'm really excited. So the film releases online on the Someday Stories page on Wednesday, 11 a.m. in New Zealand, but we're also doing a watch party at 7:30 p.m. on the 8th of Wednesday as well, which you're welcome to come to. You just have to register. There's like a cap of 100 people to come and see it. But I'm really curious to know, what does this Kapampangan film coming out in New Zealand, I mean, you kind of already touched on it before, Kuya Bruno, but what does a film like this, a Kapampangan film coming out in New Zealand overseas, mean to a platform like WeTheLokal?
It means a lot to us, actually, because that's the goal, right? It's to reach out to as many people as possible, push out this advocacy, and of course, apart from the entertainment factor, you get to inform them that, hey, this language exists. There's this culture. There are stories within this culture that exists, and one of that is Mekeni. One of the goals of We the Local, when we were starting out, actually, was to create pockets of We the Local everywhere. Like we wanted the We the Local in Cebu, in Davao, in all the regional places, so that their languages, their cultures, and their traditions would be represented. McKenny would represent one of the zeniths of that goal. Is like New Zealand. Who would have thought, right? And that there would be like a diaspora of Kapampangans living in New Zealand to represent that language and that culture. So we're done, bro. We're done. That's it. They're going to continue. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's part of the goal.
It's really important that we get represented somewhere else other than the Kapampangan region, because this shows that the interest in Kapampangan goes beyond the land that we are in. So that really that really that really inspires a lot of people, especially in other places too, and especially here. Like seeing a film, like, if they can do a film in Kapampangan, how come what are we doing in here not doing Kapampangan films in our own land, something like that? It's a really big deal to us. This is really right in the direction that we wanted to go. So seeing it happening without like us getting directly involved is really amazing. I mean, I want to see that movie right now. Can you send me a link? Secret? I don't know. DM me, slide it in my DMs.
I remember a Korean director who directed Parasite. I remember him saying that the only hindrance for people to acknowledge and appreciate foreign films are subtitles. So I think that's one. I think that's a representation of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to represent our own culture and our own language in the wider sense, and that yeah, there are cultures like ours out there that could be appreciated through this medium that we're all part of.
I have a few questions. I mean, I'm really curious.
Go.
For Alyssa, being a non-Kapampangan, how do you edit a Kapampangan film?
Um, so so our editor actually, Julie, is also not Kapampangan. We really had to I think it really came down to the pre-production side of things and preparing the script and how we were gonna shoot, because then that helped us in terms of the editing. We didn't have to change anything in terms of dialogue and cut. We didn't have to cut it into any dialogue at all. And we had the translations there, and we already had like conversations about how it's meant to sound and come across, and intentions around it. And that's also really carried by the performance of the actors as well. So it was really keeping an eye on their performance, because that, that shows the intention, and also that line is meant to sound like this, and like, so that really helped. I didn't touch any of the like dialogue because I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't. The whole reason and point of the film was to embrace that language and that richness of the language that you see in this in these normal conversations. And there's so much richness in that, and we didn't even think about like cutting that out so much. There were times where I felt a bit pressured in terms of the feedback I was getting. I was like, okay, maybe I do need to cut stuff out. But then it came down to just putting our foot down and just deciding that no, we're not going to touch any of that. We're just going to work our way around it. And in the end, with all of those efforts, we were able to actually cut it and get the pacing to what we wanted without having to do anything with the dialogue and the language itself. So that was, I think sticking to the script made it really much easier for us, and like just going by the performances and how they were delivering those lines. if that sums it up.
'Cause I can only imagine how hard it would be. I mean, directing a different language, the challenges and the pressure coming from the people who are gonna see it or gonna see it. I mean, we're really excited. I understand that, like, if you're choosing a Kapampangan tatang, you would go for a Kapampangan tatang. You can get an actual tatang who can potentially act. But if you're looking for a director, a writer, it's not gonna be easy to look for a Kapampangan who would fit that exact role. I understand. So the resources were definitely uh, not that much. So choosing Alyssa, I'm definitely sure that it's the best option, especially with Márianne doing the decision. I mean, I'm just really, really curious how it felt for Alyssa to, I mean, experience Kapampangan drama. I mean,
Oh,
a different language. Does it go beyond the language? Did you feel the words even though they were not your
mm,
own?
for sure. It really did go beyond the language. Actually, I think what really helped talaga was that both of our actors who were speaking Kapampangan were both Kapampangan, and they understood what the lines were. And again, like those conversations about what the intentions of the scenes were. And once those two align, that really like you could really feel it. Like I cried so many times while we were shooting, especially in the really emotional scenes. And that's when I was like, oh my god, okay, cut and
That's
bye.
that's how we knew, actually. That's how we knew the scene was gonna be bought, because Alyssa would be crying at the end of the take.
That that's just make us more curious right now. So just
Yeah. I think as well kasi because of I think as well it was really understanding the script as much as I could in terms of the translations and just like learning the script for myself as well. Um and and I think my Bisaya and Tagalog as well has helped in terms of there are some words that are similar with Bisaya specifically, not really Tagalog. And also just being around Marianne for all these years and speak like listening to her speak Kapampangan, I kind of can start picking things up as well. Um, and yeah, I think it was really a lot of preparation. Like I think without the preparation and without Marianne being there and without Tatang, the person who played Tatang, even Tatang's family actually. And also Gabe, who was our continuity script supervisor for Kapampangan, who was also there to help advise on set in terms of whether there was a line that I felt was a bit too long that we needed to find other alternatives with. I would ask Marianne and I'd ask Gabe if Marianne was like doing her scene. I'd like just talk to Gabe on the side, like, hey, like, do you think another way we could do this? Maybe so I think really having that support, because I don't think I would have felt comfortable to do to direct at all if I didn't know that I would have that support with me throughout the preparation and pre-production, as well as production, and all throughout the whole process, having that support. Because then it didn't have to just be like my brain trying to figure things out that I have no idea about. I think that's what made it work really, was just being able to collaborate with other people in terms of that dialogue stuff.
I think in terms of all of this stuff, I think there's a lot to be said as well for like allyship. I guess that's the word that springs to my mind. It's like, like Alyssa knew how fired up I was when I came home from the Philippines. I was so excited. I met WeTheLokal. I went to Holy Angel University. I met Sir Roby Tantinko, Sir Mike Pangilinan, and I came back to Alyssa and I was like, girl, I'm Kapampangan. I was like so excited. And then I think because she could see it from a perspective of a Bisaya and another Filipino who was here, who like, she could also really connected with the purpose or like the drive behind why I wanted to make this so specifically Kapampangan. And I think her really using her set of skills and like herself putting herself into this project really just like empowered me as well as a Kapampangan maker. But I also want to add that I think it's also just like the people behind the project, like Gabe who was like, who came out of nowhere in terms of our, we were like doing a call out for like help on crew and stuff, and then Gabe was like, hey ate Kapampangan ko rin. I was like, oh my gosh, where have you been this whole time? And like meeting all these pockets of Kapampangans in Auckland was really super exciting, and like it was so hard finding Tatang. It was so hard finding the Kapampangan Tata. They wanted to try filmmaking, but also something we realized was that there probably was a lot more Kapampangan Titos and, Bapa and Koyes out there that wanted to try, but people had different visas. There were other things getting in the way or obstacles for us to really find the tatang. But at the end of the day, we found Kuya Alan, and he was so good, and his family was super supportive. Like there was one day, Gabe, our script continuity, got sick, and at Tita Dory, his wife, jumped on board and became our script supervisor because she spoke Kapampangan. So that was, like the people behind the project really amplified the need to really tell the story. And I think also something about like something about outside of the language. I think Alyssa also managed to like captivate the the universality in the story that we were telling. Like she really connected with the conflict of the story, and I think she really felt that. And I remember sending Alyssa the script, and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm the same. I worry about the same thing, the what ifs in my head of what happens to my parents, ganito, diba? And I think I remember was it the last script, Alyssa, or second to last script that I sent to you and Todd? And you both just sent
Second to last.
second to last, and you both just sent me back videos of you crying. I was like, wow, okay, amazing. But I was just genuinely like, this is in my head already. So to get that external reaction, I think that was after our table reading koi. It was just funny, like people crying, like why? But it felt so good, and I can't wait.
I mean, it's just the script, not even the movie yet, and everyone's already crying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, one question. Uh, I'm
Did
sure
I
you had
cry?
some. Did Kevin cry? In terms of translating this to English, who did the translation? I mean, you did
me,
that. Okay.
me and Kuya Kev.
Was
Me and Kuya Kev.
okay. How were the challenges? I mean, uh, especially uh, I don't
Feeling
know the story yet, but
feeling
I
feeling ko
mean,
balo ko yung question eh. There were
go.
there were Ali, there were definitely challenges, and I was definitely airing these challenges out to Alyssa in the writing process before we actually got into production. There was a lot of pressure on my end to really translate the Kapampangan into English. And as Kuya Kevin remembers probably from that conversation, there was something also quite frustrating because there was some Kapampangan words you just can't translate directly to English. And a lot of the notes I was getting in terms, because obviously the script was written in Kapampangan and English so that non-Kapampangan speakers can follow. But the notes I was getting was only from English speaking people, and obviously they had the intention to making sure that the integrity of the story gets carried through. But then there was something really jarring from my end to be like, if you want me to change, like this is how I would translate this, but then they're like, oh, the English could do a bit more work. But I'm like, but that's the translation, like, and I was like, at the end of the day, it's gonna be spoken in Kapampangan. But then the captions or the subtitles became a separate thing for Alyssa to direct and for me to write. And I think for me it was just really hard because I was like, dakal feelings, dakal kang isipan, or you have so many thoughts and emotions that genuinely you just cannot captivate with an English word. Because I feel like, Kapampangan language, and even here with like Tereo Maori, or I mean, I guess Bisaya as well, there was so much emotions talaga na you just feel it, or you only understand it in that specific language. And it's conceptual, right? Or contextual as well. Like you understand one word in relation to this other word, but in English it's so like specific, like this is an apple, like, and I still have this written down, Kuya Kev. when you told me mitwaging sabo. Do you remember that saying that you gave me? I wrote it down and it's still on my, just to remind me, like mitwaging sabo. Like if I literally translated that, I spilled the soup. Diba? But
Yeah.
that's not what we mean. That's not what we mean.
Uh,
Koy, you explain, what does mitwaga sabing sabo meaning in feeling, in essence, from a Kapampangan brain?
mean,
Mitwaging sabo.
we're fucked, something like that.
It's like, like it's like
Yeah, we screwed up.
we screwed
We
up,
screwed
or
up.
we
But
spilled
it's
the
not
soup.
it. It's not it. Yeah, it's like
It's not
everything's on the
because
table
sometimes
already. We don't have our cards. We have our cards on the table already. This is it. We our secrets revealed. Something like that. But
Yeah,
Mm.
but
it's difficult. It's difficult.
and English
it's
as
like
well, like,
sometimes
sige, Koy.
uh, yeah, sometimes there's one word in Kapampangan that means 10 words in English, like that, like all
Yeah,
the
and
time.
that's why you need all
I,
the other words, so it makes sense, diba?
so I
That's
think
right.
it's not unique to our language. I think even in Bisaya and everything. So the
Yeah, for
challenge is
sure.
translating something to English with the same feeling and everything is sometimes close to impossible. So the
Mm.
you can only
Exactly.
do your best. You can only do your
So
best.
Because the saying, like, language carries culture. You can learn so much about a culture just from their language, and the different cultures. Like, even when I try to translate Tagalog for projects and stuff, like, it's so hard because you can't you can't do it where
It
you have
doesn't.
to, like, dig into the intentions of what are they trying to say, especially when it comes to, like, crafting the story within that translation. There's just so much more, like, you're pretty much rewriting the whole thing
yeah,
again. Yeah.
I remember I got asked one time, they were like, oh, can you just like translate this for me? Like, don't, like, I guess in English it's like, don't talk to me like that. I was like, what is the context? Who is he talking to? Is he older, younger? Are they in a public space? Are they in, like, even like the word MEKENI, like there, it means, come here, bilis. But if your mother is angry and she mulagat her mata to you and she's like MEKENI, it means so many other things, diba?
Yes, yes, exactly.
So
So that I was really curious about the translation because I know that it was made for Kapampangans, but the Kapampangans who are gonna watch are gonna be a small percentage of the people who are gonna watch this, considering the population of the Kapampangans versus everyone else in the world. So it's very important part of the movie, how you
Yeah.
translate it. So really excited to see that.
I would love your thoughts on our subtitling, Kuya Bruno. If you're like, yeah, it's tuita, ay mali
Mm.
ita. You can blame Kuya Kevin.
Okay.
I have one final question. It would be great to know, will we the local be tuning in for the release of MEKENI on Wednesday, September 8th?
Of course. Of
Absolutely.
course.
Please, to all non-Kapampangans, even if you're not, part of this diaspora, I'm sure that you'll find something that you can relate with in this film that Márianne and Alyssa have created. So I'm sure that there is a connection here that you'll be able to discover for yourself and for your family. So make any come and watch it.
This film is very interesting and everyone should watch it, nan Kapampangans or deng Kapampangan pa ken. Lalo na retang Kapampangan at you abroad duling. The usual problem is crisis identity. When you go outside your, even outside, even if you go just to a different province here in the Philippines, there's always this problem of identity crisis. So I think I've not seen the movie, but knowing uh, a few stories from Marianne, I'm definitely sure that you can relate, and this will definitely touch your heart. Even non-Kapampangans have already started crying with the script. So, what more if we watch the movie? So, Megeni, Alben tayo.
Dakala salamat kaya kayungan. To you, Alyssa, thank you so much for joining me and talking to me about the film. I'm really excited for everyone to see it, but also I'm really nervous as well because now we the local knows.
Oh my gosh.
The expectation just got higher. Lalo
I'm
na when-
nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's screw up somewhere in the process.
But no, I really, the support of people back home, as you know, as filmmakers here in New Zealand, and I think Alyssa can also relate to this, the support of our community back home in the Philippines means so much to us, more than we can ever express. I think, you know, there's always the sentiment na ing suporta datang when we've made it, or when we, you know, when we get our big break, you know. But I really do appreciate and believe that it's small connections like this, from the very beginning, that we will carry through the success of this film and maybe the films that come after MEKENI. So we're really humbled and really grateful that you, Kuya Kevin and Kuya Bruno, have, you know, joined us and come to the table to share the love and spirit of MEKENI. And yeah, I'm excited. Kakaraku. Tama atas ko ba color nyo?
Dakala salamat for doing this. It's and for, you know, we're really proud of what you're doing there and being capable of doing with just that conversation. Itang nilukluk tamo ketang cafe kening angeles that sparked it all for you. So it really means a lot to us that you're doing this and that you're pushing on with the mission and continuing to promote the Kapampángan language across the world. So dakala salamat kaya kayo.
Same with Kevin, dakala salamat, and it really means a lot that you like involve us in some way. Even we're we're really far away from you guys right now, and I've been asking Alyssa a lot of production questions because I'm really envious with what you've experienced. Even though I just want to get a slice of it by asking all these questions and everything. So I'm really sure you guys had a blast doing this film. So that's important. That's what's important. So whatever the outcomes is, it's definitely gonna be good because of that feeling. So if you're happy, guys, we're happy, but we really want to see it. So dakala salamat.